Hi, you're listening to a Life in Quebec podcast. For more, visit lifeinquebec.com.
This is Andrew Greenfield for lifeinquebec.com, and every July, if you're a music fan, Quebec City really is the place to be. The Festival d'été de Québec, or the Quebec Summer Festival, is massive. It's huge. It's been built up over the years and today boasts 300 or so shows on 11 stages over 10 days. The big names always come here. Paul McCartney, Bon Jovi, Guns N' Roses, Lionel Richie, Black Eyed Peas, Billy Joel, Journey, Bryan Adams. The list goes on. It's pretty endless. This year, for the 2015 edition, is no exception, with Keith Urban, Skrillex and the Rolling Stones having performed or booked to perform already. And last night, Saturday the 11th of July, on the Plains of Abraham, we had the Foo Fighters, a band with a worldwide legion of fans, some of whom who had made the trek to Quebec City to see them. Enormous crowd on the Plains of Abraham last night, and one of our team, Farnell Morissette, was in it. I'll bring him in now, and he's going to talk us through what happened. So, Farnell, so what happened? Tell me last night.
I get the feeling everyone who was there is going to have a slightly different version of it, but most of it's going to come down to the Foo Fighters tried to hold back a torrential downpour with rain, thunder, and lightning, and did so admirably until eventually, it just got absolutely ridiculous, and for obvious security reasons, the show had to be cut.
So was it the right call to do that, you think?
I can't imagine anyone saying otherwise. You got to realize too, the front man, Dave Grohl, he's got a broken leg. He's already up there with a broken leg. Most other artists, if their front man had broken something on tour, they would drastically cut the tour, and this hasn't stopped the Foo Fighters at all.
Okay.
But on top of that, the wind and the rain was just blowing directly into their faces. From the crowd, it was hitting the backs of our heads. So I can imagine them on stage. I can't imagine there's any way that would have been a good idea to continue after that point. It would have been a good idea to end a long time before that, but this being the Foo Fighters, I guess they weren't about to quit so easily.
Fine. So how many people were on the plains last night then?
It's really hard to tell. At some points, I couldn't even see all sides of the crowd. The rain was so thick, but I'd say maybe 70 to 80,000 people.
Which is a decent-sized crowd. You can fit more on. Billy Joel last year had about 100,000 there. Same for Bryan Adams. But 75,000 people in is it a large space? Is it a confined space? Or?
It's a fairly large space. It's for those of you who know the area, it's on the lower side of the Plains of Abraham near the Citadel. It's a natural amphitheater. It's a great place to have shows like that because there's a wide open field area, and then behind that the hills sort of move back up. So you couldn't really ask for a better natural amphitheater. The sound travels extremely well. And no matter, you don't have to be a 6'10" giant to be able to see the scene from just about anywhere.
Okay, so talk us through leading up to the show, because obviously the weather was great up to when it started. Well, talk us through the mood going in and the crowd and that sort of thing.
Well, the weather was great going into it. If you looked off in the distance, there were a few clouds, but there's no reason to think that was coming our way. Just before the Foo Fighters, there was Royal Blood, which was a great discovery. I really enjoyed them. And just as they were finishing their last sets, you could hear, again, very far in the distance, just some light rumbling of thunder. Everybody was pretty sure we were going to dodge it. I was talking to a few people who were there. Some had driven 10, 12 hours. Some had even planned their entire summer vacation around this particular concert. So even before the Foo Fighters flag flew on the stage, everybody was very excited.
Okay, so and how many songs did they get out before they had to cancel it?
Well, they got through their first song pretty well. It was everybody was already soaked. By the time they even struck in their first couple of notes, that's exactly when the skies opened. So they got through I think they got through 4 in all. I know that halfway through Learn to Fly, Dave Grohl had to just sort of signal for a bit of a pause. The band kept the beat going, and he had clearly been speaking or been being spoken to by people in his crew saying, "All right, look, this is nuts. We got to end." And halfway through the song, he just stopped. to say, you know what, no, we're going to continue, and we're going to continue until I say we're done. And they got through 2 more songs. So in all, it was 4, which is not that much. But it was an incredibly intense experience with the thunderstorm and the wind and the rain. You couldn't ask for better special effects at a show.
So where do they go from here? Would they come back, do you think?
Well, I think everybody here hopes so. It was far cut short far too quickly. They did tweet within minutes of the show being canceled that they'd be back, and a lot of people were noticing how, you know, during the entire day, the band got here a couple of days ahead, and they'd been enjoying out and about Quebec City. They really seemed to enjoy the city. They were saying as much. So I would be very surprised if they didn't come back to have a repeat performance and hopefully get to finish this time.
Okay, and what once they decided to cancel the show, how did that come about? Who gave the announcement out, and what was the crowd like then?
It was during just at the end of their 4th song, when it was obvious that it was a security issue, and not just for the Foo Fighters. You got to realize there was some 80,000 people in a fairly tight space with torrential downpours. There are always some families that go to that kind of thing. There's small children in the crowd, so you can't have a sudden crowd movement. That would just not have been safe. So it was Dave Grohl himself who said, you know, look, this is not safe. He said it's not safe. We've got to take a break, and they were rushed off stage. Lights went out, and a little announcement went up just saying that it was officially on break. I think a lot of people kind of got the idea that the show was probably over, so some started leaving. But even then, I would say the majority of people stayed put under the rain, under the wind, hoping that the weather would die down and the rest of the show would continue. That was maybe half an hour, while, again, spirits were incredibly high. You got to realize people were in puddles that, according to Festival d'été, there were some 3-foot puddles on some areas of the field. So that's not small potatoes.
No.
But no, tons of people were staying until finally it was Daniel Gélinas, the president of the FAQ himself, who came out and said, look, this is the first time in history that the weather has been so bad. He described the weather as exécrable, which I've been trying to translate, but basically it comes down to incredibly awful. And that after discussion with the band, they'd agreed that it was, you know, they'd put up a good fight, but it was a lost cause.
Okay, so disappointment for a load of fans, but and for everybody there, clearly, but absolutely the right decision by the sound of things.
Absolutely the right decision. I mean, even the disappointment was mitigated by the fact that, you know, if you were there, you have no doubt that it was the right decision. The disappointment, yeah, I mean, some people, like I said, put a lot of this into it, but those 4 songs that they did get through, the incredible energy that they got out of the crowd and out of themselves, it was just an amazing moment of defiance against the inevitable, and that it got even that far left many people so pumped.
Okay.
I would imagine there are probably some disappointed fans right now, but I think most are probably still, like I am, just high from the experience of the concert and the storm.
Farnell Morissette, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
And to you, sir. Okay, so the festival's not over yet. Boston and the Rolling Stones to come this week. There's still lots of music left, and let's try and enjoy it.
This is a Life in Quebec podcast. For more, visit lifeinquebec.com. Thanks for listening.